Guys, we're back for part 2 of the Dragon Shire Advanced Guide, and we skipped forward a little bit. There's been a lot of back and forth, some close calls. Now we're at the point where we're going to see our first Dragon Knight. And something really important to note here is the Nova pick for ESV Wildfire, and specifically because this is, their game one when they first meet in the winner's bracket semifinals. The Nova on Wargarmon, right here, does a lot of work, put it that way. She actually, looking at the build here, is she leading in hero damage? No, she's actually second to Hammer. But what she does have are these kills. These three, look, she has been involved in all 3 kills. That pick we saw off of Tassadar with the material and Arthas were here mid lane. There was another kill up here on a Tassadar that we did not see, and then there's a kill on Mad Timmy on the Regard bottom lane. Involved in all 3. The burst damage from Nova is insane, and she's actually in every match from then on between these two teams. The other 3 matches in the tournament, she was banned by SMG. So it's really critical to note that's kind of like what's given them a little bit of an advantage here. They're up almost a level. They've got 3 kills, but there's still been no Dragon Knight. And we're at a point now where we're going to see it happen. But what happens, and unfortunately with the replay timer, this isn't correct. Raynor has not actually died yet. So what we're going to see here, actually what happens is that Nova, the sneaky Nova, comes in, makes a nice play, and picks off Arthalon. He gets stunned by Iacona, takes the fall. We have the double stun there with the Heroic, the Divine Storm. Raynor falls. Now, does that mean a Dragon Knight? No, not necessarily, because there's still some contention up here. Falstad's got Pickles beat back pretty hard here, but who's back? Who's causing damage? It's that Nova, that pesky Nova. And so she almost kills KO on the Falstad, and that leaves 3 heroes basically. You're down 2. That's the 2-man advantage, and that's when you can start thinking, alright, we might be able to get a Dragon Knight, right? Now Pickles is a little low, but Rhaegar and Anubarak are also kind of low. They had to tap the well, right? So they're not directly involved in the fighting, and they can't get to mid lane in time to contest. And so what happened there is not a single death, but it actually took almost 2 kills, because the Falstad was at a point where he couldn't contribute to the battle anymore and had to back off. You can actually see he went all the way back to this tier 2 gates and then backed, and Hearthstone. So that's really what it takes, is like a significant advantage to get the Dragon Knight. Now we're going to look at how Pickles uses it. Does he go and push mid lane? No, he doesn't. And the interesting thing here is with this comp, and sometimes you'll get this too, this is something to note, they have a hammer. This hammer is set up, he's already in bottom lane, he's already sieging the tower. So why draw anybody down here? Why, draw any attention to the hammer and give Symbiote an easy way to defend? No. What ESV Wildfire does, and what's a really smart thing, is to push opposite ends of the map. So they take the Dragon Knight up here, they're going to be beating away at this gate, while Hammer is sieged up down here. And now for Symbiote to correctly respond to this, like, what do they actually do? Do they send 2 heroes down here to force Techie out? Because 1v1 he's going to be okay. He's got, look at all the mines he's already got in the bush. He's doing damage with the Napalm. They can continually cast over and over. And if you look at Mad Timmy, he's using Bloodlust, so he doesn't have an ancestral heal for himself either. It's not, he's not going to have that there just in case of a pinch. And the other thing is this Nova is running around the map, so you don't exactly know where she is all the time. Dreadnought does spot her here, and he's able to do some damage to her. But you can see Symbiote actually goes for a soaking lane approach. And this is an important thing, not only to push opposite ends of your Sieger. If you have like a split push comp, you can do that. But also early Dragon Knights, it's okay to stay in lane. Now this is post 10. Normally you wouldn't see this, but I think with Symbiote here, they're just trying to get enough experience. They're not worried about losing a fort because it's early still. It's not the biggest, baddest Dragon Knight ever. And they're behind a level. So if they can soak more XP, they can catch up. Unfortunately for them, ESV Wildfire is not committing to one lane either. They're split as well. And they do a good job of staying safe in each lane. They've got the Uther here with the Nova, so they can bully this Anubarak around. The Dragon Knight's going to do wonders up here. He's not going to get a fort. Almost gets the tower. And meanwhile, Sergeant Hammer has knocked down this whole gate. Everything. And is in on the fort. And then the Nova comes in, that pesky, pesky Nova, and they get a pick. And so that's kind of a case of just not playing against the Nova. This Nova did a great job, and as I said, Nova was banned in every map. So you have to watch out for that. But the idea is your opponents get out of position. SMG gets out of position against the Nova. They don't have eyes on her. They don't know where she is. And they get picked off. And that's why there's 5 kills to none right now. Now, you can play safer, maybe. You can be a little more cognizant of where she is. Or you can just ban her outright. And that's the path Symbiote took. But Dragon Knight's done. Okay. So, 1, they stayed in lanes to get XP. 2, they did the split push with the hammer bottom lane, right? Another thing you didn't really see them do here is to kind of use minions to tank towers. That's definitely a viable strategy. You can clear out the wave in that lane and use your friendly minions to tank tower shots so that your Dragon Knight lasts a little bit longer. If you're tanking both towers, or fort and the tower, you're going to wear down the Dragon Knight pretty quickly. But now that Dragon Knight's over, what happens? Oh, let's get some camps, right? It's a great time. The camps weren't accessible before. It's a great time to go back and get some. Unfortunately, Tatstar's a little bit out of position here again, not knowing where everybody is, and he falls down to the full brunt here with 4 man. And that gives a 2-man advantage to ESV Wildfire. Now this is when ahead. Get further ahead. They're up a level. They've got 2 men down on the enemy team. They group up as 5, and they push this fort. Fortunately for Symbiote, well, they actually lose Falstad here, unfortunately, which then sets them down 2 men again. So they're definitely going to lose the fort, and they're probably going to lose the easy camp, right? This hard camp, though, is pushing for them, so it's going to do some damage eventually. But they've still got to contend with this push, the 5 man down here. And the important thing in a case like this, if you're defending, is don't lose more people. Then you're just going to get further and further behind. You have to stop the bleeding. Now, Wildfire, on the other hand, has to take advantage of being ahead. And so what do? They take the easy camp. After they kill the fort from the first 2-man advantage, they have another 2-man advantage, and they go for the easy camp. They steal that. They don't go for the easy camp down here. Why? Well, there's 4 people up. There's a Falstad up who can fly in, so that's going to be 5 heroes here. And Arthas has to go top to clear the camp. So you don't want to overextend, right? They send 4 here, they get this easy camp pretty easily, and then they can regroup with Arthas. And so we lost, what, a tower? Almost half of another tower, and then the gate to that hard camp pushing. Not equivalent to losing a fort, but it's not terrible. Now, the problem is this is more back into the, kind of like the team fighting of the map. Not something we want to talk about a whole lot, but that's like the idea is went ahead and get further ahead, right? They got the Dragon Knight, they split push with it, they were able to get a pick off on Tastar following the end of the Dragon Knight, and then they used that advantage, because Rhaegar was still down, they used that advantage to push the fort. And then they got another pick on Falstad, they took the easy camp. They backed up because they had a split push to contend with of their own, of SMG's own, and so they had to clear that up. Went ahead, get further ahead. Now, there's going to be a bit of a fight here. The Siege Giants are going to fall for ESV Wildfire, and they'll get the wall down here for Symbiote just because of the positioning there. And Arthas not being able to contribute to that fight early on. There is some team fighting going on here. You have the Archon popped. We're actually going to speed it up a little bit. It's 2 minutes between Dragon Knights. It's an important thing to remember, right? And so, oops, sorry. Got an alarm going off. Let me turn that off. Alright. So we're back. These shrines are up, right? Do we have anybody trying to take the Dragon Knight? No. We have 5 men on the bottom shrine for East Wildfire, and now they're kind of moving up. And meanwhile, Falstad went top. But nobody is actually trying to take it right now. They're waiting to try and pick somebody off. You can see Tassadar here getting sniped by that Nova, taking a ton of damage. And they almost lose here. They almost lose, not the game, they almost lose a hero or 2 there. To SMG's credit, they did not. They're able to escape. And it's 1 shrine to 1 shrine. We don't see a mad rush. We do see a Nova going up because Nova's sneaky. She can sneak up for that shrine and try and take it, but she backs off because then they would be split. You don't want to split your forces up too much because then SMG can come in and just basically, outplay you. They could do a 5-man versus your 4-man if they were split, or they could do 5v1 or something of that nature. What ends up happening instead is another pick here with the Nova and the Root, and then a Judgment goes down, bit of a team fight. Shock and all goes down. All the heroics being used here, right? So a lot of team fighting. You see 2 heroes fall. Then you're going to see, I think 2 more, or just 1. Looks like they both, yeah. Okay, Raynor and Falstad both make it out. Tassadar falls. So at this point, 3 heroes down. It's a 3-man advantage. Plus, these guys both super lit up. They have to go back to heal. And that's going to be a Dragon Knight right there. That's the mistake you're waiting for. Catching them out of position here, getting the pick off on the support player, then you instantly go into team fight mode, the judgment from Tyrael, and they're able to pick off 2 more players. And so, all of a sudden, a 3-man advantage with the other 2 having to return to base to heal. Free Dragon Knight. And now, they're grouped up, they're going to push. They've got some minions down here, they've already got that fort, right? So they start to push, but they're saying, okay, we've still got a 2-man advantage. We can go both places at once. This fort's already damaged, it's exposed, it's easy for Arthas to tank that and knock it down. And the Dragon Knight, meanwhile, is going to go to work on the mid lane fort. And then Tassadar's coming in, but he's late to the party just because of the spawn timer, or the death timer. And so at this point, it's going to be a 5v5 with the Dragon Knight. And you can see the counters going down here. And so, how did they get the Dragon Knight? The other team made a mistake, was out of position, got picked off by the play from Wildfire. They then use that to advantage. They've got a 3-man advantage at one point, and they can take 2 forts just because of the positioning on the map. Now they're going to go ahead and I think switch to bottom lane here and try and do some more work. They don't actually, notice they don't go in on the keep because Dragon Knight's not invulnerable. He's not invincible. They're just doing as much damage as they can using the breath, and they're going to try and knock down the walls here to expose the keeps for later in the game. And so now you can see they fall back, it's a little bit of a skirmish, but they're ahead, right? They don't want to give up any significant advantage. They don't have resurgence up or anything like that yet. And so went ahead, get further ahead. They go to take their camp, SMG takes theirs, they're both going to rotate up, I believe, to their knights. Instead, actually, Wildfire going down here for the easy camp. And so this is kind of where you'll start to see, I believe, it's a little bit of a skirmish here, but if you notice, there's a hard camp pushing top lane right now. These giants aren't going to do a whole lot. They're going to be destroyed. And so SMG starts to get a bit of an advantage here just because of the objectives. The knights pushing top, right? And the other thing is, there's an interesting call here from Wildfire. This is the reason I want to point this out, why you don't want to split your forces right here. Okay, in this point in the game, this force exposed, so Wildfire thinks SMG's bottom lane, maybe they'll push in and try and take this fort if we all rotate top. They send 2 top for the hard camp. SMG, meanwhile, where do they go? They know what's up. They know the hard camp's up, right? They go directly straight to that hard camp. A nice clairvoyance is actually going to come in here from Uther to reveal that. And both Pickles and Poom back off. They don't take any deaths, but because they look, this is like a narrow choke point with the Bloodlust, and you know, if we're looking at the all-timers, right? They're all up. Not really something you want to engage into, and so just because they were split like that, they aren't able to get the hard camp. Then they're going to go ahead. You're going to have knights pushing top. We don't want to talk about the team fight too much to really dissect. We'll just kind of do another guide on team fighting in the middle. We're going to keep this more about the map. But that's just the idea of why you don't want to be split, because then the enemy concentrates their forces in one location on the map and can beat you. Now there's a team fight here. It's a bit messy. We could definitely analyze this a bit, but we're not going to, just because this is more about the map than the actual comps and the team fighting. We just want to pay attention that the idea is you don't want to split your forces up and put yourself at a disadvantage. But now you've got 3 heroes dead, right? Long death timers, over 50 seconds. What happens? Falstad and Nubarak both grab shrines. They get the Dragon Knight. Now Falstad, unfortunately, once again, that pesky Nova, he picks him off. She picks him off. They still get the Dragon Knight though. And so there's 2 down for SMG, but they do get the Dragon Knight. They're able to knock this wall down. Don't believe they're going to get a fort here. It's just so hard. Actually, I think, you know, this is in this match they do get a fort. And then, look, does he go into the walls? No, he's very safe with it. Arthalon in this case, pretty safe with it. He's going to actually come down bottom here and poke away at this fort, taking out the minion wave with the fire. And then he's actually going to go ahead and he's going to actually, wait, look at this. Does he go in? Yes, he starts tanking it. Now the minions are in range. He's no longer tanking the fort. There's going to be a bit of a team fight here. ESV Wildfire is going to give a good chase. And actually, because of, I think it has to do more with the heroic timers than anything else, there's going to be a nice outcome for Wildfire here on this team fight. You can see the boot there, the precision strike, speeding things up. There's going to be some pickoffs. The Judgment on Symbiote with the Precision Strike. Boom, he goes down. And I believe there's a second... Is that the second Precision Strike? Yeah, that was the second one. So, falls dead in a lot of trouble. You can see how the Dragonite's not invincible, right? Even with the Dragonite in a 5-man, you still can lose a team fight. In fact, sometimes because of the Dragonite, you'll lose a team fight, right? But Wildfire went ahead, get further ahead. They have a 5-man, a 2-man advantage. They have 5 versus 3. They're able to take the keep down. Now, here's a problem. Went ahead, get further ahead, but what do you want to do? Do you want to sacrifice every advantage you have? Now, I think this is more comp-based than map-based. I think a big part of the turnaround here is the Bloodlust and ESV Wildfire engaging into the Bloodlust repeatedly. We're actually going to see that if we look at the timers, the Bloodlust is up, Shotgunall's up, the Raiders are up, right? What's going to happen, they're going to, between the Rainer and the Falstad, it's going to be like 6,000 hero damage each at the end of this fight. And they're tanking the core. Now, to ESV Wildfire's credit, they do get 50% on the core. And they burn 3 resurgences, right? So they don't take 3 long-term deaths. They do wipe, though. All 5 do die. Nice body blocking in play from Juggernaut here to keep Techie from escaping. So, boom. Trade 3 for 5. You popped 3 resurgences. Now, still a level lead. You've got 50% on the core. Is that the worst thing? No. You got 50% on the core. You didn't. You took 2 deaths for 3 deaths because you did pop 3 resurgences, right? They're not in any way, shape, form behind, but you can check out the hero damage here, surging up. You have to ask yourself at this point, is engaging into Bloodlust going to be a good thing further on? And that's kind of, I think, the one downside to the play here from ESV Wildfire in this matchup in particular, is just engaging into a Bloodlust. It does not work out well, again, later in the game. But they can go ahead and get their camp, Symbiote gets theirs. And then we're kind of getting in more of the late game stuff here, some of the, the dynamics of team fighting. We don't want to look at that too much. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else we want to get from this. We might just want to go to game 2.